So no government can force you to hand over
no
the
one
files.
can ask. I mean, if some government was to ask us for your, I don't know, files or whatever.
If you could only choose one thing that people should do, what would it be?
To keep their information private, you mean?
Yeah.
I would say stay away from.
Like, what is that keeps you currently up at night?
We're talking about post-quantum encryption and making everything super secure and stuff like that. But with AI, you're just sharing everything. I mean, it doesn't matter if if it's encrypted or not. You're just sharing all that personal information yourself. So when they use, I don't know, or which I don't think many people use, but or I don't know, or whatever, you're sharing all these information with them.
Your encrypted files might already be stolen. Not opened, not yet at least. But there are people collecting encrypted data right now, betting that in 5 years, they'll have the tech to crack it wide open. It's called Harvest Now, Decrypt Later. And most people, maybe including you, have never heard of it. Today, I'm sitting down with someone who's building the answer to that problem. Fran Villalba Segarra is the founder and CEO of Internxt, a European open source cloud platform that just rolled out post-quantum encryption. And he's not stopping at storage. VPN, email, video calls. He wants to build a privacy-first alternative to Google's entire ecosystem. I'm Mauricio, CEO of CloudWords, and we've tested hundreds of cloud services. And today, we're going deep. The tech, the speed, the roadmap, and 3 things you can do today to protect your data. Let's get into it. Fran, welcome to the show. Welcome to CloudWords. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Excited for this talk.
So how does one become the CEO of Internxt? Tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a few years already. I started, on my own. Over 5 years ago, I started Internxt right after I finished university, and after working at Hostinger for about 5 years or 6. So after finishing university, I finished at Hostinger and I started Internxt myself. Right now, we're already 40 people in our team, so the company has grown quite a little since I started the company. But it's definitely not been an easy journey. We've made a lot of good things, a lot of mistakes as well. I started very young, so obviously as an entrepreneur, I've made pretty much every single mistake one can make. But even though that was the case, we've managed to grow the company, fix things, and make of Internxt a pretty relevant player nowadays. Yeah.
Exciting. Yeah. I mean, we've been watching your journey, I mean, probably since it started, because, I mean, you're one of the few providers who offer lifetime cloud storage plans, and you have also a very interesting take on encryption, on the encryption side of things. And this is something that our audience is super interested in, and that's something that we're going to dig deep into this interview as well. So I think back in the day, privacy or cloud privacy was a super niche concern in the tech world, or with people who were using cloud storage. What do you think has changed?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I started, actually privacy wasn't that much, it wasn't that much demanded. Not so many people talked about data sovereignty or data privacy. But today, I think that has changed, that has really evolved. We're seeing like a very kind of complex geopolitical situation. We don't know who to trust anymore. Those who we thought we could trust, we can't really trust, and namely, Google, Microsoft, all these American companies. They are, selling our data. They have access to the data, they can sell it, and the U.S. government as a whole, we also don't know to what extent we can trust, nor we can trust China. I think it's relevant today to have a sovereign cloud, and it's much more relevant, cloud or internet provider in general, technology provider, than what it was many years ago. We've seen a lot of hacks going on. Every single company has been pretty much hacked nowadays, and we've normalized something that shouldn't be normal. So that's why I think that today I think is more relevant than ever to keep your data secure online. Yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing a massive spike in people requesting Google Drive alternatives, OneDrive alternatives, and they want to have like a secure alternative. So, do you think that particularly the political situation is driving that, or is it some other factor that's the main driver for this development?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for sure the geopolitical situation isn't helping, because as I said, you don't know who to trust anymore. You don't know if those who you thought were your allies you can trust, and as I said, like many people trusted Google, and after seeing everything that's going on with Google, with Meta, with Amazon, with all these companies, Microsoft, they're harvesting data, they're selling your data. I read on the news a few days ago that even Meta, with their Meta AI glasses now, I don't know if you saw it,
Yeah.
some so they're sending video to Kenya, and people, Meta employees in Kenya, they're reviewing all these footage and personal video that you're recording, and that's very alarming. So we're seeing all these things, and I think that's definitely not helping to make things easier for these companies. So that's why I think more people are looking for alternatives to big tech.
Yeah, and later in the interview, we're going to talk about the like 3 concrete steps plus features, basically, that you guys maybe have not announced so publicly yet, that people can use when they sign up for Internxt, that really differentiate you from these other bigger cloud tech companies like Google Drive or
Yep.
Microsoft or even Amazon. So let's dig a little bit into encryption, because encryption sounds first like a super complicated a topic and scary. And there is the old adage that essentially you can't have both. You can't have usability, you can't have a friendly user interface, and you cannot be ultra secure at the same time. So you're always sacrificing usability when you want to be secure. So how would you say does Internet solve this this conundrum?
I mean, it is true that first of all, being a small company like we're a small open source project, we can't. We don't have as many resources as Google has, or Dropbox, or Microsoft. So that's something that people obviously should know, and it happens to us, and it happens to many companies in our space. We to a certain extent, we can't compete with the amount of resources that big players already have, and they've also been working on their solutions for many years. We're relatively new to the market, so that's also something that people should bear in mind when working with solutions like ours. And third, and most importantly, like you mentioned, we are, I mean, not kind of not happy enough with that situation, but we want to add it like an extra layer of complexity by adding all these encryption mechanisms that indeed make the solution even more complex, for sure. So we're working with these 3 things, but we're trying to make our solution work as best as we can. It is indeed complicated. As I said, we're competing with players that have been in the market for many years. They have many billions of euros in resources to deploy into making these solutions perfect, and on top of that, they don't have that extra layer of security that we're adding, which makes things, as I said, more complicated. When you want to upload a file on Internxt, for example, if it's a big file, um, you know, we're running the whole encryption process locally on your device. So
Yeah.
it makes uploads maybe a bit slower, or it might even crash your browsers, or stuff like that if your computer isn't powerful enough. Whereas for Google, for example, they're doing that on their backend, like infrastructure on their servers. So you're just sending them the plain file, and they're running the encryption themselves. So it's a different kind of thing. As you also mentioned, we also have post-quantum encryption, which we'll talk about later, which makes it even more complicated. So there's many things. We're a small team, but be, despite all of that, we, I think, are managing to bring a solution to the market that is, somewhat usable. People like, we've been improving, and I think more and more people are liking over time. Although I am aware that the first product we brought to the market obviously wasn't very good, but we've been improving it based solely on, or mostly in customer feedback. We have like a lot of feedback from customers, and we prioritize tasks based on what people ask and what people demand,
Hmm.
and the bugs they have or the features they ask. So we've been building a roadmap based on that.
Let's talk about what I alluded to in the intro, which is harvest now, decrypt later. I mean, this is what we might be facing in the future as well. And this is probably also where post-quantum encryption comes into play. So maybe you can piece this together for our audience, explain this in simple terms so I can understand it, because I also sometimes have trouble like, okay, what is post-quantum encryption? What is zero-knowledge encryption? How does it all fit together? And most of all, how does it protect me, and how does it protect my data that I'm uploading to your servers?
Yeah. So first of all, zero knowledge encrypted system, like we knew it, is a system where essentially everything is client-side encrypted on your device using IS-256 encryption, which is military grade encryption that all banks and everyone uses nowadays. So that's kind of that's been the standard for privacy for many companies like Proton or even as or pCloud, Treasury stuff like companies in our space, they've all used that so-called zero knowledge encryption. Usually, although it's true that many players don't include that per default. So for example, if you go on pCloud, they don't include that on
Yeah,
other
there's an
types.
extra charge for it. Yeah.
You have to pay for their crypto or whatever, or I don't know, whatever. But if you pay for it on top of your subscription, you will also get it. So that's been kind of the standard, more or less. We've always include that for all memberships, free to paid, and that's already a step forward in terms of security and privacy compared
So
to big
you
players.
have just that I'm trying to make to get you right. So you
Yep.
have the connection encryption basically. So when I send my file to a Google Drive, for example, that connection between my computer and Google servers is essentially encrypted. So I send those files over to Google. However, they are not encrypted on my device. So technically, someone at Google or Microsoft or wherever I'm going to upload my files could read the contents of those files.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And that's what happens. So I mean, not only with files, it happens with everyone, with everything, with AI, with kind of Gmail, with any photos, any kind of service that you use from big tech companies. They're using so-called server-side encryption. So they're encrypting on their servers instead of on the client. And what happens is that because they're the ones encrypting it, they have the encryption and the decryption key, which we don't store, for example, at Internxt. So that's already something that you should bear in mind. And then, as you were mentioning earlier, on top of that, we have post-quantum encryption, which we rolled out, very recently. And although it might not seem so relevant today, it is actually more relevant than what many people think. Because when people think about quantum, they say, okay, this is so far away. Quantum computers, like it's going to be many years, maybe like 5 years, I don't know, until hackers start using quantum computing for their purposes. And that might be right. Although there's already some quantum computers, IBM has one, and there's many companies that already have quantum computers. But as you were mentioning, what we're seeing that's happening is that they're stealing that encrypted data that's not post-quantum safe, and they're harvesting all that data now. And even though it might be client-side encrypted or server-side encrypted, doesn't matter. Even though they might not have the decryption key, when they have a quantum computing power available, they will be able to decrypt that data because that's not quantum. Safe for the post-quantum era, that data that they harvested, and that's a problem. Yeah.
Okay, so if I understand this right, so you have the transit encryption from essentially my device to your servers. Then you have the zero knowledge encryption or the encryption layer, where on my device you have a special algorithm that encrypts my data. I have the key to that data, so if I lose that key, I'm screwed, basically, because you guys cannot see it. And then you're saying you have something else, which is called post-quantum encryption, which is another layer of security?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
How exactly does that, what does it do? What does it do with my data that is so special?
Yeah. So kind of as you were mentioning, so we have three layers of security, so to say. Server-side encryption, which is what everyone uses in the industry, like in the internet industry, Google and all these companies. Then you have an extra layer of security, which is client-side encryption, zero knowledge encryption, but still uses standard encryption algorithms. And then you can go a step further and you can add on top of that client-side encryption post-quantum encryption, for which we use Kyber 512 as the algorithm. It's an algorithm that's proven to be safe even for even against quantum threats, essentially. And that's what we've implemented at Internxt, and it's implemented across all our services, not only Drive, but also have a service called Internxt Meet. We also have it on Meet. We're going to have it on all our coming services, all our existing service, Internxt Send. Everything we have uses that encryption algorithm, and that ensures that.
I have a question. I have a question around that. So that is an algorithm, basically, that if I'm a savvy developer, I could take that and I could also include it into my software, right? So why is that something you need to Internxt? Where is your secret sauce? Where is your moat, as they say, with this algorithm?
compared to Google and any other companies, or compared to any
No, for example,
developer?
if I'm a cloud store, say I'm pCloud, right? Why I could take the algorithm, because I assume it's
Yep.
open source, or it's an open algorithm that
Yep.
I can look at, right? I could take that and say, okay, if Internxt is doing that, well, I'm pCloud, or I'm Sync, or I'm whoever provider,
Proton or whatever,
I'll
yeah.
also do it, right? So I could do that. But is there, like, what is your secret sauce?
Yeah, I mean, we'd be more than happy. Obviously, I mean, our main goal is to make the internet a safer place. So we'd be more than happy to get more players implementing this kind of security into their systems, because we think it's important, not only in 5 years' time, but we think it's important now because of that harvest now, the Decrypt later that we were mentioning earlier. But in terms of implementing these, I mean, it's not so simple. It's not just like taking this algorithm and implementing it. We've been about 2 years implementing these. We've had PhDs which are still in our company. Cryptography PhDs, mathematicians implementing these at Internxt. So it's not like a few months job that you just take it and you implement it. It's much more complicated. But again, we would be more than happy to get more players implementing these kind of quantum safe or quantum resistant algorithms. I'm pretty sure everyone will be encrypting with these quantum safe algorithms in the next few years.
Yeah, but it's great. It's great to see you as the leaders in this
so
space,
far,
because I think this is very forward thinking.
Yeah, I think we've been, if I'm not mistaken, the first cloud storage provider that's implemented it. I know that
haven't seen it anywhere else. I mean,
me neither. I know
we're
that
observing the market, but
I know that Tutanota has implemented it also for their email service, which is great news.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure we will see it across the whole industry, like privacy industry, because it has to be the new standard. But we're happy to lead the way. Yeah.
Okay, I think I understand encryption now. Whew, finally. I got a question for you. So just to really break it down simply, if I upload my family photos to your cloud, can you see them?
No, we can't see your photos, we can't see your files, we can't see anything that you upload to Internxt, nor can any other third party.
So no government can force you to hand over
no
the
one
files.
can access. I mean, if some government was to ask us for your, I don't know, files or whatever, we can't access them. So I mean, we don't have. I think the main differentiating factor between, for example, what happened to Mega Upload and a company like us is that Mega Upload had access to that illegal content, and they just weren't doing anything. Similarly with Telegram, for example, when Telegram had issues with the French government and stuff like that this past year, it's because Telegram doesn't encrypt on your device per default. It's a separate function. So they technically have access to everything. So when people say that Telegram is very secure and stuff like that, I mean, per default, Telegram it just does server-side encryption also. So when you have access to the information and you're not taking action against illegal content, then that's an issue. But in our case, or even Proton's case, or essentially in our case, we can't access that information. There's no way we can access it. We don't have the decryption key, and that's how it was built. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know, and that's what I focus a lot when I test and when I use my own cloud storage services. Is I want zero knowledge encryption to be in place. I want to be the owner of the key. I want to be in complete control, and especially I don't want my other companies to train on my data that I upload. And we're going to talk about AI in the next few segments of this interview, because that is obviously an emerging trend that concerns everyone. And AI training has become abundant because now all the companies have harvested the internet, essentially. And what else is going to come next, right? And that's what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes. Before we get into that, I wanted to talk about a few other products that you guys are launching or are about to launch. Maybe you can give me a rundown of your the things that you are doing at the moment, what you're focusing most on. I mean, you guys do VPN, Mail, Meet. You got your Drive, obviously. So are you trying to replace Google? I mean, what's your plan here in the next few months?
Yeah, so we really want to become a true Google alternative. And to do so, we do need to have kind of that complete suite. Even though that's the case, 90% of our focus these past few months, these past few years, pretty much since we started and still now, has been on cloud storage. Our main product is still Internxt Drive. That's what people buy us for. And all the other products are kind of complementary products, nice to have products, but they're not our core, and we are aware of that. That's why, our most complete product will always be our cloud storage product. That's what people buy us for. So that's been pretty much our main focus. We've been adding functionalities to this product. We've recently added file versioning, which many people asked. We've been improving sync. We've been like our sync process speeds. We've made our product actually, usable compared to big alternatives that, as I was mentioning earlier, have many more resources, have been on the market for many more years, and are not as complicated in terms of like technically complicated. So that's been one thing. And then in terms of other products, indeed, we have an encrypted VPN, which is available for Chrome browsers right now. We will be implementing further browser support for Firefox and Safari. We will also be releasing it for desktop apps and mobile apps. So that's the VPN. Again, with the kind of bearing in mind that our focus will always remain on cloud storage. So we won't be dedicating more than 10% of our time to these other solutions. Likewise, we've rolled out Internxt Meet, which is a encrypted video conferencing service like Zoom or Google Meet. Everything is client-side encrypted with our post-quantum encryption algorithm, available on web as well. It works really well, and a lot of people use it. We've released Internxt AI as an alternative to Gemini, Grok, and all these products. We think it's relevant that in the days of AI, or in the times of AI, there's an encrypted, client-side encrypted solution also for AI that's anonymous, that's private, and that's secure. Because when you talk with AI, you think you're talking with no one, because you don't have anyone talking to. But in reality, you're just sharing all your private information, all your company's private information, your personal, problems, medical history, whatever you're sharing with AI, with Google or with Elon Musk or whoever you're sharing it with, and that's also, I think, very, very dangerous. And that's why I think, for example, Proton released Lumo, and I think that's a very good alternative. We've also released ours, so that's also a very interesting product, I think. And the goal is to keep expanding our suite. We will be releasing Internxt Mail in the next few months, which I think will be a very interesting service. A lot of people will use it, I think, an encrypted email solution, alternative to Gmail. And then we've also got other products, an antivirus, a cleaner, and some other tools. Internxt Send is an alternative to WeTransfer.
Yeah, I'm always we're also monitoring the VPN space obviously very closely, because we've been in the business there for, I don't know, almost 10 years now. And
Yep.
I started to see this in the VPN space, where VPN providers would not only offer VPN, but they would offer an antivirus, they would offer cloud storage, they would expand a lot of the products and lose focus on their core competency. And that's where I'm personally a little bit worried that you guys might be spreading yourselves a little bit too thin. Instead of focusing, hey, let's make a really 100% great cloud storage product, you're spreading out your wings, which is sure, because you want to diversify and you see all these opportunities. How do you guarantee that, okay, the cloud storage product is gonna be the best product it can be in 2026?
No, I mean, I fully agree with that. And I think that, it's a question we get asked a lot. And, I personally see a lot as well. And I think, our main focus, as I said, is like 90% of our time on making our cloud storage product a great product. And that's why people buy us. Just like when people go to NordVPN, they go to NordVPN because they're VPN and not because they're cloud storage product or whatever. But it is also true that all these competitors, Proton, Nord, Brave, you name it, Google, obviously, they have this whole ecosystem. And if we want to compete with these companies, not only do we have to be very strong in one single product, but also, we have to have that whole kind of suite. Why? Because if you're like, I don't know, if you have an Internxt, if we only had cloud storage, if you have an Internxt cloud storage subscription and you have NordVPN, and then NordVPN starts offering cloud storage, you're going to be on NordVPN because of the VPN, which we don't offer, but then you're also going to have a cloud storage subscription paid with them. So you're most likely going to stop being our customer because Nord now offers these other solutions, just like with Proton. So we don't want people to move away from Internxt to Proton or Nord because we don't offer these other products. So we, as I said, our main focus will always be on cloud storage, but we don't want people to go to Proton Mail because of email and then stay with them because they also offer cloud storage. So that's what we want to
I understand. What are you personally most excited about in 2026?
I mean, we, as I said, recently released file versioning. I think that's been a big step. A lot of people asked for it.
Yay!
Yeah. So it took us a while. It's not so
Why
simple
took it
to
so long?
implement.
Why did file versioning took so long?
I mean, first of all, because we've had a lot of different requests for, for our product. I mean, not only we've done file versioning, we've done a lot of things for Internxt Drive. We've implemented, for example, native rclone support as well, which a lot of people have been asking for. So we've got native rclone support now. We've got also NAS support. We've got WebDAV. We've got
Nice.
CLI. We've got, I don't know, a bunch of stuff. So, I mean, and again, we are a small team. We're not that like 2,000 people like Dropbox or whatever. So we can only do like one or two things at a time. So that's why, and also because file versioning is not so simple to implement. It also took us many months to develop since we started. So that's, but now that's live. So that's interesting. We want to bring live Internxt Photos, which is like an automatic photo gallery sync for mobile. We had that many years ago. We launched it alongside Internxt Drive, but then we dimmed it down. We stopped it because it wasn't working properly, and we were an even smaller company, and we thought, okay, let's make one thing right, which is cloud storage. And once our cloud storage product is somewhat decent and complete, we can see about bringing back photos. It's a very complicated product. Our photos product, it's syncing, it's post-quantum client-side encrypting and syncing your photo gallery on the background. Thousands of photos, videos. It's a complicated product to make right. So we want to make sure that when we bring it live, we learn from our mistakes, from the complexity of the product, and we're able to bring a decent product to the market. Yeah.
So what is the one feature in your product lineup or pipeline that will make someone say, "Oh my God, I need to try this right now. Let me stop this interview. I need to download Internxt to try it out."
I mean, post-quantum encryption is already something that nobody else is offering, and we released that very recently, and I think that's amazing. Internxt Photos, a lot of people have been asking for that, and I think a lot of people will be very happy for us to implement. And then Internxt Mail, a lot of people have been asking as well for a mail product so that they can stop paying for multiple subscriptions. Because right now what we're seeing is that Internxt customers are usually Internxt subscribers, but they're also having to keep their NordVPN or their Proton Mail subscription because we're not offering an encrypted email product that they want to replace. So they're paying for Proton Mail on top of Internxt. So they will be they won't have to do that anymore. And that's already very interesting. Mail, photos, file versioning also, it's something that many people have asked. And then again, we've significantly improved speeds, performance, and sync. So that's it's like you were mentioning earlier, like in the very first questions, like you can use a quantum safe encrypted provider that's not only secure but is also very usable. So I think it's something very reasonable for people to try.
Let's talk about speed, right? Because frankly, when we started testing Internxt, when it came out, it was really slow. So we really had we're gathering testing data on CloudWorks for the past 5 years or so on these providers. So in our earlier tests, the sync speeds were not great, and it was sluggish. The encryption took like forever. So looking back at our historical data, basically, Internxt has made incredible strides essentially in the upload performance. So where before uploading we have a 5 gigabyte test folder that we usually use with different file types, right? And then we use a 100 megabit internet connection to upload that. And basically, it took anywhere like from 50 minutes to over 2 hours to upload that, which is obviously slow. But then suddenly, something seemed to have changed where we saw the upload time plummet to 8 minutes, so under 8 minutes even in some of our tests. So maybe you can walk me through what was the change from this extremely sluggish performance towards now like a good performance in the encrypted cloud storage space.
Yeah, no, the solution is very simple. We just spend a lot of time in making our process, like our upload speeds, faster. That's been a big focus of ours. It's work that it's it's not very visible. People, because it takes time and you're not releasing features and new stuff, but you're doing a lot of work in the background. So we've put our best engineers to improve performance, and what you just shared is a result of all this work. It's been many years. Obviously, our first product, so to speak, it was done by many less developers. It was kind of a sort of an MVP product when we released our product, and it is true that it wasn't great. As I said, it's not so simple to make this kind of open source project with all these complexities and a really small team work as good as your Dropbox or Mega or whatever. But right now, years have passed, our team has grown, our product has improved, we've received a lot of customer feedback, and I do think that now our product is stronger. I wouldn't say I mean, we've made mistakes for sure. But it should also be understandable that it, I mean, we can't make magic happen. I mean, I think we've spent. I mean, kind of the response to your question is that we've just spent a lot of time in making our solution
Understand.
stronger. Exactly.
So what we also do at CloudWorks is we then unthrottle the speed test from only 100 megabits. We then use the full 1 gigabit per second to really see, okay, what can the provider do when someone has a really strong internet connection? And 1 gigabit per second is already, like, I would say, pretty strong. However, we don't see a lot of speed increase after that 100. Like, going over 100 megabits doesn't seem to like move the needle so much. So I'm wondering, what's the roadmap for people who really need speed for Internxt? Like, what is I'm a video creator. I'm a content producer. I would love to back up my video files quickly, but if it takes so long, then I'm rather go to another provider that can use the gigabit connection, right? So what's your answer to that?
So as I was saying, so it's a very complicated topic. It's not so much about sometimes internet speed on its own, but it's also about the fact that you're encrypting a big file on your computer. So it's not so dependent sometimes on your internet speed, but also on your computer's ability to post-quantum encrypt that file. So even if you have a powerful computer, it's a process that's slow and that takes time. Again, we're spending a lot of time in improving these, but there's theoretical limits that are not so dependent on speed, on upload speeds, but more about that local encryption process that's going on. But again, we're spending time in making these even faster. Our main focus has been and is still Internxt Drive, and that's something that we want to keep working on. But obviously, imagine if it's I mean, I'm assuming you have a powerful computer. Imagine if you have a least powerful computer, it's even going to be worse. So I mean, again, these products are complicated, but we are working on making these even faster. Yeah.
Can you be more concrete? Like, are there specific steps for 2026 that you're going to take to make Internxt faster?
Yeah. So as I said, so most of the limits that are making Internxt, I mean, I would say it's not slow anymore. I think it can be faster, even faster, are on the encryption process. So right now that we've released post-quantum encryption, these PhDs that we have that have developed that algorithm are making it run smoother, see if they can make it more efficient on computers, especially less powerful computers. There's also sometimes limits that the browser itself has. So we're often very dependent on Google Chrome or Firefox or whatever browser you're using because the encryption is happening on the browser. So there's a lot of limits and things that we need to play with, but a lot of the focus for these developers in particular right now is on this encryption, on making this encryption mechanism that we've implemented run even more smooth.
And you're confident that in 2026 you will make good strides towards a faster Internxt?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, we've proven to be able to do so in these past few years, as you said earlier. I think right now we are very, we're within industry standards. I don't think there's many providers that are much faster than us. I think that we're pretty average when it comes to speed, which is already a big step, considering everything I was mentioning earlier, which is we're still a small startup. True. Everything is very complicated. Yeah. All our technology is complicated and so forth. But we still want to make, like steps towards making Internxt even faster for sure, 100%.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room that everyone is talking about, which is AI. We've also alluded to this before here in the interview. So this is obviously a big topic because everyone wants to organize their lives now with AI. We're getting AI models that are getting more sophisticated, better AI agents that handle different tasks. Who knows? In 5 years, 10 years, we're going to have a general AI who's going to evaporate Earth, but we're not there yet, hopefully. So there are different camps in the AI space who think what will happen. Obviously, no one knows. Let's hope for the best. But basically, what is happening today with our data and AI?
Yeah, I mean, what's happening is that in times of AI, companies are harvesting more data than ever. I mean, you're just sharing all your personal life, all your personal information with these big tech companies, with these data giants, namely Google, Facebook, any of these companies, Microsoft, and that's very dangerous. I mean, you're sharing all your personal information, all your company's confidential, I don't know, business plan, like I don't know, anything that's relevant that you're sharing with AI, and that's like again really really dangerous. We should be very very dangerous with what we give AI access to. Even like for example, Google using AI for its Google Photos for like face recognition, for all kinds of stuff, because again they have access to that data, they can use that data, and for many things it's fine. But for some other things, I think you should be careful with. I mean, I don't know if I want to go. I don't know if I want Google to know my my medical history, if I have some I don't know some illness or whatever, because I just don't think it's good. So that's what we're doing right now. That's I mean with Internxt AI, we're bringing an AI solution that's more secure, more private. It's 100% anonymous, and we think it's very relevant for today's kind of AI digital world that we live in. Yeah.
How does it work? Because, I mean, AI needs data, obviously, and privacy means no access to that data. Like, how do you offer AI like without breaking this promise? How is that possible?
Yeah, exactly. So kind of Internxt AI was released with the promise of being a 100% sovereign AI solution. We indeed don't have access to any data, so everything you share with our AI is just locally stored. We obviously have less personal data of yours because we don't store any than, for example, Google, which can personalize everything much more, can train their models much more, and stuff like that. So they ultimately, their AI, I would say, is always going to be better. If you want something that's like super super like complete, and it's also the case with Proton's Lumo. I mean, it can't compete with Google's AI, basically because, I mean, first of all, Google, again, they've spent billions of dollars in developing their AI, and secondly, because they have access to all this personal information that's helping, make their models more personal and stuff like that. So there's always a downside in having complete privacy, and that's that's something to bear in mind. Obviously, I mean,
So
I see it.
what AI model are you using? Because I mean, from somewhere you have to use some kind of model to interpret the information, basically, that people are going to chat with.
Mhm.
What is it? What is the model, and how do you train it, or how was it trained? Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, 100%. So just like I think Lumo, we use a variety of open source models that we've also trained. So for example, one of them is Qwen3, QWEN3, GPTO SS120B. I mean, we use like 3 or 4 different models, open source. We've made them ours. We've made our solution based on all these models. Again, everything is 100% private. Everything is 100% encrypted and anonymous. And everything is also 100% open source with Internxt. So that's also something to bear in mind. But again, it is true that it's always going to be less personalized than when you're chatting with Google, because basically
So
Google already
where does
knows
this
everything.
model run? Where does the model run? So when I talk to the model on Internxt, like where does my chats go? Is it run on your servers? Is it run on my computer? Is it run somewhere else? Like where does it go?
Everything is run locally, and everything is saved on your browser
So it
cache.
will
So
depend on my computer, basically. If my computer is slow, I might have a slow experience, and if my computer is fast, I can chat more. I have a more intelligent model. Like how does it work?
yeah, everything runs on your computer. Unlike with Drive, for example, I think that since it's only like you're only chatting with a model, it doesn't consume as many resources as, for example, encrypting I don't know, a 40 gigabyte file or whatever, postcard encrypting a 40 gigabyte file in your browser. So I think your experience is always going to be good. It might indeed be slightly faster or slightly slower depending on your computing power, but everything is saved locally. And then also you're going to be able to see I mean, Internxt is not personal to some extent because everything is saved locally on your device, meaning that, on your browser, you're going to be able to see your conversations because on your browser cache, you're going to have all these, past conversations that you've had. You can delete them if you want, but everything is always stored locally. So our AI is personal to some extent. It's personal on your computer, essentially, but not on our servers.
Okay, and what about like the future of privacy, the future of AI? when it comes to cloud storage, storing your own data, like what is that keeps you currently up at night? What are the main topics that you keep mulling over and over when you go home from the office or when you work at home?
in terms of data privacy and security
Yeah.
in general, or yeah, I mean,
In
so
terms of like how does it relate to AI? Like how what
related
does
to
keep you
AI
up
in
at night?
particular?
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that again, in terms of like AI, um, I mean, we're talking about post quantum encryption and making everything super secure and stuff like that. But with AI, you're just sharing everything. I mean, it doesn't matter if if it's encrypted or not. You're just sharing all that personal information yourself. So people have to be aware that, I mean, when they're sharing stuff with AI, it's not impersonal. It's not like, especially with, I mean, an AI that's not anonymous or doesn't run locally, which is like 99.999% of the cases for people. So when they use, I don't know, Gemini or Meta AI, which I don't think many people use, but or I don't know, Grok or whatever, you're sharing all this information with them. You're sharing all your data sheets with them, all your company information with them. So, and I think that's really dangerous because all these companies now have more access than ever to personal information, like like with, like outside of the boundaries of your email inbox or your Google Drive or your photos. Right now, they have access to everything because you're sharing it with them. You're giving them permission to, even with Cloud, you're installing it on your computer. You have it has access to all your Excel sheets, to all your computer, to everything, to all your data on your computer, which they have, the company Anthropic has access to as well. Yeah.
At the beginning of the interview, I promised our audience 3 things that they can do today to implement into their daily digital life. And yeah, I promised you would have something for them. So maybe you can share something with them that they can implement today, starting from very easy to medium and maybe some advanced tip that you have for our audience.
Yeah, I mean, something they can implement in their everyday life, I would say, is that's really simple. Is I mean, it might sound stupid, but a lot of people make this mistake. Is not using the same password for absolutely everything, which I think 99% of our I mean, I don't know if your audience will fall within that scope because maybe they're more tech savvy and they're not.
Some of
I don't
them
know.
may, yeah, but it's always
Some of
good
them may.
to hear it again, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it might sound like something very, very stupid, but I think that a lot of people still use the same password for absolutely everything, or even worse, using a password manager that's um, not as secure as it can be. Because sometimes we use a password manager like LastPass or something like that, and then they just suddenly get encrypted, they get hacked, and then you were thinking you were more secure by using LastPass, but it turns out that you might as well just don't. So you have to be careful with your passwords. That's what I'm saying.
What
Just use
password
different passwords.
manager would you recommend people use?
I mean, there's a lot of local password managers that run locally on your computer. I mean, for example, Proton has a pretty strong password manager as well, which I would trust more than 1Password
Which are
or
you using?
LastPass. Yeah, I mean, I'm not using a password manager myself. That's like from a big tech company. I'm using something that's like running locally on my
What
computer
is it? What is
and on
it?
my mobile.
Tell us.
Uh,
Tell people want to
I
know.
I don't know if I should say because I mean, I don't know. I don't want people to know what password manager I'm using for privacy
Oh,
purposes. I mean, I can. I
okay.
mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
fair enough. I'll take that answer.
I don't know. But I mean, I mean, people can Google it. I mean, there's like a billion um, password managers that run locally on your computer. You can install it on your Android, on your iPhone, or your computer. But I do think that because of the kind of company I'm running, and and who and the responsibility I have, I think that a lot of people. I mean, I get a lot of like you know people trying to attack and try to get data from me in one way or another.
Tip number 2, medium difficulty.
Uh, Tip number 2, medium difficulty, always use two-factor authentication, which I think a lot of people also don't use. I use, I mean, Proton also has an authenticator app from Proton, which I would recommend people to use. I mean, so if you want like some tips that are, I mean, I look like a Proton employee here, but we don't offer these products, and Proton does. So, they have a pretty strong password manager. They have a pretty strong authenticator as well, I think. So I would recommend using both of them. If I'm not mistaken, I think they have both products. And then thirdly, which is also something relevant, I would say is, using providers that are, running or like kind of using internet providers that are or technology companies that to some or to the best extent possible, or to the most extent possible, they're running things locally on your device. So they're using client-side encryption, or or for example, as I said, or using a password manager that runs locally on your device. Or I mean, I think that's less convenient, because you always have the downsides of privacy and what we spoke about. But I think that is important for people that not only do they change their passwords or use two-factor authentication, but also, if they can, they use providers that are kind of client-side encrypted, and that are really not storing that that decryption key themselves, because I don't think it's
Okay, cool. Yeah, we heard 3 great tips that are implementable, from easy to a little bit more advanced. Like replacing everything with an open source provider is obviously a little harder to do, and will take a few more weeks. Now, I want to make it a little more difficult for you and ask another question. Like, if you could only choose one thing that people should do, what would it be?
to keep their information private, you mean?
Yeah,
I would say stay away from Google. Yeah, I
stay
mean,
away from Google.
yeah, I would
Okay,
say
yeah.
that would be the conclusion. So stay away from Google to the best of your ability. So I mean, obviously, for some things it's very practical and it doesn't really matter. So if I'm a university student and I'm working on some Google Doc for some project that is not really relevant, it doesn't really matter. I mean, we also have to be realistic. There's a lot of stuff that's not so relevant. Even we publish on on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, stuff that we don't mind it being public to some extent. So that's fine. But to the best of your ability, I would say stay away from Google. That would be from Google or any other company that's similar to Google, like Meta or all these companies. Yeah.
Fran, is there a question that I should have asked, but I haven't asked?
I think we covered pretty much everything. Despite yeah, no, I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, I think yeah, I can't think of
Perfect.
anything
Do you
else.
have any last words for our audience?
No, I would say, give us a go. If you gave us a go many years ago and you were disappointed by, I don't know, our performance or whatever, like Mauricio said earlier, many years ago, we had a service that obviously wasn't as good as what we have right now. We've spent a lot of money and a lot of time in making our solution stronger. So, give us a go. Let us know what you think, because, your feedback will really also help us, keep making our solution stronger moving forward.
Perfect. Fran, thank you for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And for people who are watching us, thank you for watching, obviously. Subscribe to our channel if you want to hear more interviews like this from cloud storage founders. We always try to interview people here, get people on the show, so you can really get to know the background of the companies. And thank you, Internxt, for lifting the curtain a little bit and let us peek behind of what's going on and what's on your roadmap. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.